We don't.
And frankly, I would agree with you that I think that the process that we have is, you know, I mean, there's approval, approval, approval. So it's well-defined and well-regulated, well-controlled in our organization.
I was talking to Jason afterwards, he made the comment that some councils certainly do look at it, most do not.
That's the impression I got when I talked to RJ and
Rodney.
yes, thank you.
That's payroll specific for.
Just
Right, payroll specific.
Right. So regarding that, what we don't want to do is we don't want to lose the public accountability for a general, I mean, because if we take it off of the agenda, the public would be completely uninformed about that necessarily, unless we've got some other way of telling them just the blank numbers. So one potential solution to this is to take it away from an approval item, but just have it as a note, where we just give public notice that this was what was paid, but since we're not currently reviewing it.
Info item.
indeed, yeah, just as an info item.
Okay.
Sure.
Something to consider.
Somebody wants to know,
Great
though,
idea.
they have the right to ask.
Mhm.
Right.
It's in the budget.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Okay, good. Any other items? Molly?
Just a couple of things, actually. I go through AP claims every week, and I guess it kind of flabbergasts me sometimes when I see certain things come through that are routine. But one of the things that came through today that sort of floored me was electrical, PUD, $31,000 for the last month. You know, I mean, that's a lot of money if you, I mean, I realize that electrical usage goes up in the winter, down in the summer, but still, if you consider we probably spend a couple $100,000 on electrical usage, that's a lot of money. There's a lot of cost savings potential there. You know, I do notice that street lights for a month were almost $11,000. So that is a lot of money. I think that within the budget, there are areas, so because this, you know, like electrical usage is spread out over all departments in the city, I think sometimes that's where the finance committee can really be of value when we look at those things and say, wow, here's something that is an umbrella, you know, that is shared by every department in the city, so they don't see the full impact of it, but yet what can we do to minimize the hit that the city takes on this? And I did notice there were 3 different rate plans. I'm sure that there's a reason for that, but maybe even review what kind of rate plans, the rate structure that we have.
Is that like the cell phone? If you don't ever call and ask them, they don't ever give you the 8 cents a minute? And
I don't know.
charge you the $1?
It could be, maybe it is, I don't know. So that, the other thing is just something outside of council, is that for the Washougal Schools levy, I'm doing ballot monitoring. So I know who in this whole room has voted or hasn't voted, but I would just really urge you to make sure you cast your ballot. I don't know how anybody has voted, but I do know whether you have voted,
So you
Whether it's been returned yet.
whether it's been returned and checked off by the elections department.
And tomorrow is the postmark date.
Yeah, so at least according to today's numbers, there's about 3,400 citizens that have voted.
Oh. Follow-up for the item Molly was talking about first on energy savings. One of the things that you might take a look at right after this meeting is over is step out into the foyer and take a look at the lighting that was installed last week in the foyer here versus what's in this room versus what's in the offices. We had NCS come in last week and do a retrofit just to the foyer area. It took very few minutes, went very quickly, recycled the tubes so that we can use them in other places in the city buildings. But they were very, 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 very anxious to get a test site set up so that they could begin bringing people through and be able to see what the differences are in those. I'll get you better information from them. They've already brought in three clients, one of those that is a city, or not the city of Portland, the Port of Portland, who then went back and started a purchase order process for some of their products, just based off of what they saw walking through this hallway, so. Falls a little tiny bit, because part of that whole thing, Trevor had CPU do some energy numbers for this building before those were installed, so that we can take a look at a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and see what incremental change that made to the average bill just for this room, or just for this building. Michael, wow. How'd all the staff get almost into one spot?
I don't have anything specific, so.
Jennifer?
Yep, couple things. I'd like to thank Joanne for her running interference for the BIA and Mr. Bomar's email. I appreciate you doing that. I forwarded that to her, and she emailed back and set him straight on a few things. Go. Okay. Sean, my question about the West Columbia Gorge Humane Society contract, how's that going?
Chief's got it here in just a minute.
Oh,
Do
I'm
it now,
sorry.
or I can,
Do I go before you? Okay, all right, that's coming up, sorry. RJ, Precious Paws moving expenses?
Oh,
Did we
I saw
talk about that?
we did.
The double billing?
It's not a double billing, and I have an email that I just need to get a little more substance from. Maybe and I just need to follow up on it. I did get an email from, I can't remember the gentleman's name, through Trevor. Talked about total cost associated there, how much the moving expenses were gonna be. What it turned out to be, for what I understand, is that the one, like, we're reimbursing the individual, but there's more associated costs with that move, and there's a whole scope of that.
There's an memo on my desk that showed up this afternoon that, like, whatever the double billing question was, isn't two billings, isn't two identical billings, two identical payments, it's for two completely different things.
Two different items. So I didn't want to forward you that yet until I follow up and got a little
Okay,
more
yeah,
information
I'm really,
on
really
it.
curious about that, because, I mean, common sense says she just moves once, and then we pay it, and then we don't pay it again. So,
Well, yeah, from everything I saw in there, I would say she moved once.
okay.
She moved once, but there's a lot of.
She got the Cadillac move.
Lot
Whoa.
of detail. I can forward you that email. I just, if, I just want to make sure before I forward it to everyone, I can't even really explain
It's
it.
just odd to me that we would still be paying moving expenses come February of 2010 for something that happened last October. It's just odd, you know, and all the charges for Home Depot, everything. Does she just go in and get one of everything, or how does that work? If we just pay the Home Depot bill, I just want to know.
Let's talk about that tomorrow morning, so you can go ahead and get that forwarded on to everybody.
Thank you. That's it.
Chief?
Okay, on the Humane Society, Don looked at the former agreement and just had a few changes that he wanted to see. I think some of them was just an address change, but one of them, in the agreement, it references an Exhibit B, and no one can find Exhibit B. So we're just gonna remove that. Last Thursday,